हेलो व्यूअर्स। आज मैं जिस अफसर को इंटरव्यू के लिए लेकर आया हूँ, उन्होंने सबसे पहले ओटीए से जो ट्रेनिंग की उसमें शॉर्ड ऑफ ऑनर उनको मिला और उसके बाद उन्होंने गुरखा रेजिमेंट 4x4 जीआर को ज्वाइन किया। वहाँ कुछ साल 2 साल के करीब उन्होंने काम किया और उसके बाद में इन्होंने सोचा कि मैं पैरा स्पेशल फोर्सेज में जाता हूँ, तो इन्होंने सीओ से पंगा लिया और बाद में पैरा स्पेशल फोर्सेज में इन्होंने ज्वाइन किया। वहाँ रहने के बाद इन्होंने करीब 3 टेन्योर इन्होंने जेएनके में किए और जिसमें इन्होंने कुछ ऐसे लोगों की कहानियां शेयर की और कुछ ऐसे ऑपरेशन शेयर किए जो बहुत ही इंस्पायरिंग है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल इन्होंने कैप्टन सज्जन कीर्ति चक्र और कैप्टन पवन कुमार शौर्य चक्र, जो इनके बहुत करीब थे, उन लोगों के बारे में इन्होंने जो बताया वो बहुत ही इंस्पायरिंग है। फिर ये कांगो में गए जहां इन्होंने एक पाकिस्तानी ऑफिसर के साथ में एज ए ऑब्जर्वर काम किया और एक सिचुएशन में इन्होंने क्या एक्शन लिया जिससे कि ये मॉब लिंचिंग से बच गए और फाइनली जब ये कमांडिंग ऑफिसर बने असम राइफल रेजिमेंट के, तो इन्होंने कुछ आउट ऑफ बॉक्स ऐसा ऑपरेशन किया जो आज भी लोग उसे टेम्पलेट की तरह जानते हैं। सो ये सारी जो कहानियां हैं ये बहुत ही इंस्पिरेशन भरी कहानियां हैं। आप इनको सुनिएगा, पसंद कीजिए, लाइक कीजिए, शेयर कीजिए, सब्सक्राइब कीजिए और इस पॉडकास्ट को पूरा जरूर देखिए, आपको बहुत इंस्पायर करेगा। थैंक यू सो मच। Good morning, Col Krishnadas. Welcome to Will Life Like a Warrior. And you know why I call this warrior is that जिन्होंने जिंदगी में कुछ something different they have done, and still now they are inspiring the millions of people with the stories of their life. So that is why this Will Life Like a Warrior. So Krishnadas, to start with, let me know that you have gone through the SSB and finally joined OTA, where you became a sword of honor. How has been this journey from the SSB?
First of all, sir, very, very good morning to you, and thank you for having me here. So for me, I think the journey from SSB to academy and then finally passing out, I think each of this phase was kind of a revelation and a learnings. Like when one goes to SSB, all one's is aiming for is to get selected, and I think for some reason I probably never went through any formal coaching for SSB and everything. It is just by interacting with peers and a few of my college seniors who had got selected and everything. And so to say, I had very little information as to what actually happens in SSB. And the only probably keyword that I had was, what people told me, just be natural there and try to look at things positively. That's all. So I think in the end it all worked out. And subsequently, when you join once you join OTA, when you get there, so I think that's a different world altogether, sir, because you have no idea what is there in store for you in the academy, because right from day one you are into, it's like getting into a furnace, because you have your seniors there and you are never prepared for what you're going to get there. And but then I think you just have to stick on, sir. So I think like everybody else, I stuck on, try to do my job as best as possible there, and I think eventually everything fell into place. And though it was, I would say, from each month it was a challenge there, and but then I think in the end everything came out good. So I think altogether it's a very humbling experience, academy altogether. And the second thing is you learn so much about yourself when you are under pressure there, under pressure of time, under pressure of the weather there, and then obviously the physical stress and strain that you have there. So it as a person, it makes you better. I think that's what my a very very strong conviction is, it actually prepares you for your life in the army. And also now, it's 25 years that I passed out. I'm in the civil street now. I think the learnings from the academy still hold good. It helps me navigate this path also.
I agree with you, कृष्णदास. एंड द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट जो आपने बोला ना कि जब आप एसएसबी में गए तो एक ही चीज आपने ध्यान रखी, बी नेचुरल. एंड आई
Yes,
थिंक ये फंडामेंटल है उसका. आप वहां अपने को फेक नहीं कर सकते.
exactly, right.
एंड एज यू सेड कि बस अपना काम करते रहो टू द बेस्ट ऑफ योर इंजेन्युटी एंड यू विल गेट द रिजल्ट.
Yes, yes, sir.
कृष्णदास, एक व्यूअर्स है, जब मैंने ये आपका एडवर्टाइज किया कि आपसे बात करने वाला हूं तो उसने ये क्वेश्चन पूछा. तो मैंने कहा चलो यही पूछ लेते हैं. उसने बोला कि दिस इज ए प्लान ए ऑफ मैनी व्यूअर्स जो हमें देख रहे होंगे या देखेंगे, कि उनका एक प्लान ये है कि वो सीडीएस या एनडीए को क्रैक करें. ठीक है ना? सो देयर क्वेश्चन इज, डू दे हैव ए प्लान बी ऑल्सो? बट द क्वेश्चन इज कि इफ दे हैव ए प्लान बी, दैट मीन दे आर नॉट श्योर ऑफ प्लान ए. So what is your view on that? Or what was your plan B in case, retrospectively, if you think, what could have been your plan B? So if you can relate that.
Actually, in fact, to put it that way, from college onwards, I was in the NCC, sir. I was an NCC air wing, and in fact, my all my college life, my entire aim was to become a fighter pilot. And so I did NCC, I did the C certificate and everything. And I went, in fact, my first SSB was in Bangalore. In fact, I could not get to the SSB there because I failed the PIBD test.
Okay.
And then I came back. And and in fact, that same year, I cleared my CDS for IMA also. But then I always had that here, didn't make it to Air Force. I don't want to join the armed forces only. And in fact, I actually started working for a pharma company, sir.
Hmm.
So I was into business development, and I did that for probably a year plus. And then somewhere down the line, I think next year, then again, like we have college friends and everything, I went and wrote the exam. And this time my call came for OTS. So, so to say, and in fact, another thing that probably I learned from because the number of people who succeed at the SSB are quite less, and there are a lot of people. Thanks. There are a lot of people who don't actually make it. So, another thing, my the college senior told me is that he said this is not the end of the world. And the other thing is, the armed forces have a very peculiar requirement of what they are looking for. So a person getting selected, not getting selected, doesn't mean that there is a fault in you.
Absolutely.
It only means that probably you are not meant to be in this field. No, there have been multiple examples where people excelled in other careers who have non-made through SSB. So I actually to answer your question precisely, probably I didn't have this baggage when I went there, sir. Like मैं इसके बाद क्या करूँगा करके मेरा वो मतलब I didn't have that thought. I said no, अपना you give it a good try. हो गया तो ठीक है, otherwise we will destiny is something which you don't know where it takes you. So just I think leave it to the Almighty, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what you said is, if this doesn't happen, the world is open.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the one of the event. Life is too big to worry about anything which is not done. So Krishnadas, when you mentioned that academy went month after month, you happened to complete the task and then finally came out with flying colors and became a Sword of Honor. So guys, those who are listening, Sword of Honor is the one cadet who is the best in everything. So now when you look back, जो हमारे देखने वाले या जो एस्पिरेंट हैं डिफेंस को ज्वाइन करने वाले, उनके लिए क्या आप अपने एक्सपीरियंस से बताना चाहेंगे कि यार एकेडमी में अच्छा करने के लिए, क्योंकि एकेडमी में अच्छा करते हो तो थ्रू आउट लाइफ आप अच्छा करते हो, क्या ऐसी चीजें कुछ बताएंगे जो वन शुड कीप इन माइंड while being part of the academy or doing the training?
Sir, I think one essential factor is in any academy, I believe, is your physical fitness. That is because when you're because academy, the training is so designed that I think more than 75%, it depends on how fit you are. It doesn't mean that you have to be a very strong guy, or you probably have to go to the gym, or have that kind of physique. It doesn't mean that. It only means that you have to be able, your body has to be fit enough to carry yourself, yeah, under any circumstance. So I think physical fitness plays a major role, sir, because major people, a lot of people probably give up, or probably lag behind this because of physical fitness. That is one, sir. And along with physical, when you are physically fit, your mental fitness, because that is something that because the training is designed to break you, because the entire what I learned after passing out in so many years is that the training is actually meant to first break you down, and then rebuild you into what the army, air force, or the navy wants you to become. So you have to the other important part is never give up. You may feel like this is the end of the road, इससे आगे मेरे से नहीं हो पाएगा, but that half a second or a 1 second, if you hold on, you think कि यार नहीं, मैं लगे रहता हूँ. So I think that is one. And the third thing is to have try to have a balance, under pressure, try to have a clear thinking, because when you get tasks, say in camps, navigation, or when you're doing firing in academy also, so you have to have that that's few seconds of calmness when you decide on something, whether it's as simple as navigating on the map under pressure. So in academy, that is what you do. So I think probably if I had to sum it up, I think that physical fitness aspects are the attitude of not giving up, and the third thing is to have that develop that ability to think clearly under pressures.
Very right, very right. But you summarize Krishnadas so very well, and I fully agree with that. Physical toughness, mental toughness, never give up attitude, and the clarity of thoughts. I think absolutely the crux of the training of any academy of whether army, navy, air force. So thereafter, Krishnadas, I believe you got commissioned into the GR Gurkha Regiment.
Yes, yes, sir.
And you opted for that. So how was the induction in that? I think you had a brilliant story to get inducted into the Gurkha Regiment.
Yes, sir. I think I was commissioned to 44 GR, sir. And I think because even in academy also, when people speak and you have instructors, so Gorkhas is something which everybody talks very high about.
Yes.
And because of their rich history of rich history, them being the warrior clan in battle, they are the fiercest. So my entire I did about almost 2 years in 44 GR. And again, sir, what an experience I had. And especially it is something, it's a totally different culture, me being from South India, and then the hill troops and the Gorkhlis. And Gorkhalis in my unit, almost 50% of people were from Nepal. So I think the first challenge which was thrown open was learning the language, because that's a compulsory factor there. So it's very, very interesting. Like after that initial bedding in the unit, when when they make you go through the initial the BPT, PPT, and you spend your time in the lines. You stay and you do all the duties that a rifleman does, and slowly you become the section commander and then the CHM. So that I think that that tradition is very good, because that makes you understand what you need to do later on. And so that is one. And the language parts are, I think, very interesting, I must tell you. So I think second day in the unit, early morning, there was a guy who came and woke me up, and then he told me that CHM has detailed him as my buddy, and he gave me tea, and just before PT, about I think around 4:30 or 5ish. And this guy, in fact, I still remember his name. He is Rifleman Rajan Thapa. So now he wouldn't speak to me in Hindi. So he came and he wished me in Gorkhali, and then gave me tea. And then in Gorkhali he told me ki the PT ka time, and you have to be ready for PT and this thing. So now I could understand PT and time. So I knew कि PT के लिए जगाने आया है. So but then I went to the PT, and throughout the day, and then later on when I met him in the afternoon, and now when I go to the company also, now what I realized, nobody would speak to me in Hindi. Whereas I knew that when they are speaking to somebody else, they are using Hindi also. So with great difficulty in the evening, I requested this guy. I said, "यार मेरे को उसको समझ में नहीं आ रहा है." So then and with great, I think he also took a risk. He told me just one sentence. He said, "साहब CHM ने बोला है कि आपसे हिंदी में बात नहीं करना है." So, then I said, okay, I understand. I have to learn. So I requested him, at least on a piece of paper, you just write me few colloquial words, keywords that we use daily. So on an A4 sheet, he gave me about 20-25 words that we use every day. And so that was my introduction to learning Gorkhali, sir. He never spoke to me in Hindi. And that made sure that I learned. So, and in fact, I think within a month, I was able to understand quite freely. And within about 3 months, sir, because I was almost on top of things. And one thing that helped me also was that the unit moved to field immediately, sir, in about 3 months odd. So we stayed in that peacetime location in Ranchi for about 2.5 months. And then the unit moved to northeast. So that was a train journey. So train journeys those days were very long. So we took almost 2 weeks to reach there. So that entire journey where you are sitting with them, speaking to them, that helped me gel with the troops also, and made me understand Gorkhali also. And I think within 6 months I was good enough to take the platoon and company Sainik Sammelans in Gorkhali, sir. And till today, though I've only spent 2 years, till today I can understand and speak Gorkhali.
Yeah. So once you reached there, your train reached northeast. What happened thereafter? Means how you got finally inducted into the battalion operations?
Sir, pretty much we had a NRS somewhere close to Guwahati and Assam, sir. And thereafter the move was by road. In fact, the drill is, I think even today it is true. So we had to go to the jungle warfare school in Mizoram, in Barangte, for the induction. So the battalion did the induction, and so we were oriented towards what is there in store for us in the operating area. And thereafter, about a month plus, we were there in Varante. And thereafter, we were finally inducted into Manipur. We got inducted into Tamenglong. And thereafter, we took over from another battalion which was deployed there. And then slowly we had the hand and taking on ground also. They showed us the AOR and everything. And then slowly, I think we settled into operations. I think probably this tenure of Manipur helped me when I went to subsequently when I went to the special forces, because when I went there, I already had a little experience of counterinsurgency, and that actually helped me settle down much better.
I believe your battalion moved on foot from Varante to the location of the unit. वो थोड़ा experience बताओ.
Yes, sir. Actually, that's a very that time the corps commander was, again, I think he's famous across India, Jal Nanavati.
I know.
So Jal Nanavati was the 3 corps commander. So he had put in a SOP that any battalion which is inducting, it will go on foot to its operational areas. And for us, it was from Mizoram to Manipur. That was a very long distance. We had to actually cut across part of Assam and then reach Manipur, sir. And I think again that the as per plan we had to finish it in 14 days. However, I think as things happened, we had a encounter somewhere around 12th or 13th day, sir. So, I think that again kind of bedded in the battalion, because going through live fire there, and for me actually it was as a lieutenant with what 4 months of service. You actually don't know what is happening there, and I was that time part of the Ghatak platoon, sir. I was leading the Ghatak platoon. Standard drill that we followed was we will have the Ghatak leading this thing, and then we had a overall time plan that we will kind of take our harbor for the night an hour before darkness. Yeah. And northeast it becomes dark very fast. Right. So the entire idea was that when you are taking a harbor about so this is again from the senior company commanders, that's how you learn from them and the Jawans. They said the idea is that when you halt 1 hour before, you still have light, so you can set your perimeter and everything. You can have your people dominating heights and everything, and slowly when you go into the night, your eyes also get adjusted to that transition from day to night. So this is what we were following. So I remember, I think it was 12th or 13th day. I'm not too sure. So we again approached one village which is right on top of a hillock. So as we approached, like we were the first platoon, that is ours, my platoon. We sat down. The drill was basically we remove our heavy baggage and go with our the weapon and ammunition the pouches into the village to just scan to whether everything is okay, and then let the rest of the party follow. So as we were going in, we received fires. So basically later on we came to know that at that time there was a meeting going on between the two of the groups, the UNLF and NSC and K. Because that time IM was under ceasefire, Khaplang was not under ceasefire. So they had a thing going called Operation Brotherhood that time between the Meiteis and the K group. So they are having a meeting in that particular village, and as we entered, we received fire. Luckily, nobody got injured in that initial volley. And I think one interesting thing I can tell you is that when this fire happened, and since I was new, the platoon Havaldar, the Havaldar of the Ghatak platoon, he was always with me. Okay. And when this happened, and I'm sure you also know, sir, that when the bullets go past you, when they are, so they make a different sound. Yes. And in academy, I remember from academy when we have that exercise on attack and defense, they teach you to listen to various kinds of fires. Yes. The LMG fire, the burst fire. So, but then there, since the entire activity is happening on a butt wall, the sound is different. You get you have a bang sound or something. Yeah. Now here I was having that sound of something whistling past me. Whistling sound. So I was actually in that position. I think for that first 5 seconds, I didn't know what was happening. To be frank, I was just trying to figure out. In fact, my thought was, what kind of weapon are they firing? Because this sound is very different. But I think that's the reason why probably somebody senior at Capt platoon was there with me. So he was there with me, and he basically held on to me and took me to the ground and told me in Gurkhali, stay down. No. So then I was trying to ask him, what is this? Kya hai? He told me in Gurkhali, sab tala jane ho, yo effective fire cha. So then he told me, okay, this is something that is effective. That's how this sound is. So then based on the direction, then we regrouped behind cover, and then we returned the fire. And subsequently, we cleared that village, entire village, the next day, and that's how our stay got extended. Because since that thing has happened there, then we were ordered by the division to plonk there itself for next, I think 8 days. We plonked there. we had to do patrolling all around the area to make sure everything was okay. And finally, we reached our operational area in about 21st days. So that 21-day walk was something, which bedded in the battalions.
इनफैक्ट कृष्णदास, ये जो दो चीजें जो आपने पढ़ाई बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें, एक तो बताया ना कि किसी सीनियर अफसर ने आपके साथ जो वेरी सीजन्ड एनसीओ जो रखा है, ठीक है,
Yes, yes, sir.
उनका 20-20, 30-30 साल का एक्सपीरियंस होता है.
Exactly.
They know के what bullet and where it is going and how it is going.
Yes.
So, knowing that कि आपका 4 महीने का ही सिर्फ एक्सपीरियंस है, यंग ऑफिसर, तो they got a huge experience and that is what he utilized and saved you there. दूसरी चीज जो आपने जनरल नानावती की बोली, इनफैक्ट इस 97 1999 में मैं भी वहीं था, उसी लीमाकॉम में था. तो जनरल नानावती जब एडम इंस्पेक्शन के लिए हमारे आए थे, तो उनका एक पिक्यूलियर चीज थी कि वो एक पाउच उनका हमेशा लटका रहता.
Yes, yes, yes.
एंड उस पाउच में देन व्हेन ही इंक्वायर्ड फ्रॉम द एडीसी, तो उसमें सिर्फ एक पिस्टल, एक चेंज, मतलब अंडरवेयर बनियान, एक जो है,
Yes, yes, yes.
और कुछ खाने के लिए सकल पारिस, तो वो तो उनके जहन में भरा हुआ था, जो टेक्टिकल मूव और ऑन ग्राउंड पे किस तरीके से करना है. ऑलवेज रेडी टू फाइट. तो जनरल नानावती जैसा बंदा तो पैदल ही चलाएगा.
In fact, he visited my post also subsequently, sir, when we were deployed, and I had the good fortune of briefing him, interacting with him also, and I remember him wearing an old dangri and then having this pouch with him throughout.
Yeah. So, in fact, and it is the wisdom of a senior officer that what best way to familiarize with the terrain,
yes,
the area of operation for you.
True, sir.
So, इसके बाद में, in fact, you were fully competized also. 2 साल के अंदर GR में रह के,
I was fortunate that way, yes, sir.
Then not only that, आपने खाली भी सीख ली, सारा कुछ हो गया. तो फिर ये फितूल कहाँ से आया कि मैं अब स्पेशल फोर्सेज में?
Sir, I think this is again, I went for bios, sir.
Okay.
So from Manipur, I went for bios. So in bios, like I had a few course-mates who had opted, and then so people have got selected also. So in fact, my own course-mate was there in 10 para. So somewhere, I think that aspect of, when probably you are in combat, you're doing this, fighting, you feel probably, you have to be, I thought, I should also scale up to that level. So, and then you hear about the operations in J&K, and we in our course, we had few people from our senior batches also doing bios. So there people had come from CIOps in J&K and all those areas, and they also narrate about how, say the 10 para does operations or 9 para does operations.
Yeah.
So you hear that, and then you feel here, why not, give it a try. It's when you have to be a soldier, why not, try and be with the best people. It's just one life. So
correct.
So I think that is what made me do that, sir. And in fact, I got bullshitted by my CO. When I went back, I told him this, what CO and IC. In fact, I took my application to him. He tore it away, abused me, and said, I said, in fact, he said, I'll make you a commando in Manipur itself. He said, and he said, you go 5 days operations, 6-day operations, so that kind of things. But then I think somewhere that idea stuck on with me, and I pursued it. Then finally, I got a, call letter. In fact, that entire thing also, because my CO never signed my application.
Okay.
So then, in bios, our course senior was from 5 para, sir.
Okay.
So he helped me. So he was about 4 courses senior to us, 2 years senior. So he took my application, and then he said, I'll get it through my CO 5 para, and then he gave me the address of that time Colonel Regiment of Parachute Regiment, General Hoshiar Singh. He said, write a DO to General Hoshiar. So then, in fact, very nice of him, he replied to my DO. He told me, prepare yourself for the probation. make sure that you get a call correct. And finally, that I think the one day I got a call from to adjutant, that CO wants to meet you. So and those days all moves are in on foot, sir, because ROP is a big effort. Right. So ROP only done on convoy days or some VIP movement. And I moved on foot to battalion quarter, and then first adjutant, and then the 2IC called me and said, "What have you done?" There's a letter which has come from MS branch, and CO is wild. CO is furious. Then I went to meet CO, and I think nice of him also. He now that it is it has come officially. Though he kind of bullshitted me, but then in fact he told me, now that you're going, make sure that you don't come back. So that was kind of a motivation also to me not to come back. I said, no sir, I'll not come back.
In fact, Krishnadas, after having spoken to many para officers, I think the majority have gone through the same situation.
Yes, right.
Majority of them, at first attempt, no CO signed or no CO recommended. Then they took a rebel kind of action. Either got it in the absence of him recommended by 2IC or somebody else, company commander, or they, one case I have seen, he went AWL and reported to the directly to the para, and somehow all kind of stories I have.
Yes.
So यहाँ मैं एक क्वेश्चन फॉर द बेनिफिट ऑफ द व्यूअर्स अगेन पूछूंगा कि ऐसी फीलिंग क्यों है सीओज में कि यदि कोई वॉलंटियर करके जाना चाहता है, ही वांटेड टू डू समथिंग मोर चैलेंजिंग, व्हाई दे वांट टू रेस्ट्रिक्ट हिम, उसका मोटिवेशन या इंस्पिरेशन को क्यों करना चाहते हैं? दूसरा क्वेश्चन मेरा यहाँ है कि जैसे आप जब सीओ बने थे, यदि आपकी बटालियन से कोई ऐसे जाना चाहता तो आप क्या करते हो?
Sir, I think why probably COs, I really don't have a complete answer to it, but what I think what I feel is, I think most people who volunteer for special forces are probably I think a CO. In fact, those days people used to become COs up to 25, 26 years. Probably at 25 years they used to become COs. So probably they had that wisdom, and they could probably understand that this boy has a little potential or something. Maybe that's what my guess is. And in my case, my unit was also in field. So probably he wanted some youngsters, a lot of youngsters in field. Probably that could be one reason I feel. Though I actually do not have a complete answer. But like when I was a CO, in fact, my thing was again, anybody wants to do anything which is probably out of the normal routine. I never stopped anybody's. I think that was something which probably I imbibed from my own experience, and maybe speaking for others. Somebody wants to go explore himself and do something different. I think because. I think that the beauty of the army is, sir, the army doesn't stop whether I am there or somebody else is not there. Our presence probably does make a little difference, but it is not that important that the system doesn't work. Right. Because our systems with our JCOs, NCOs, and other officers, it's a very, very well-oiled machinery. Right. One person cannot make a difference. So that was always my call.
Or what you rightly said is that because the person who is opting for such kind of challenging jobs, he's the best guy, and nobody wants to do away with the good person or good officer or good jawan. Everyone,
probably yes. I think.
Yeah, that is the one reason. Of course, you got selected. You were invited to join Para SF, but before you finally become a Para SF officer, you go through a lot of tough thing, which we call it a probation.
Yes,
probation, right? How was that experience of yours? Or any moment you said, "Arey yaar, kahan phas gaya?"
Sir, I think probation again, though what the system that we have has been refined over the years. Again, it has been imbibed from the probation that happens. I think in UK Special Forces, that is where in fact that is the blueprint on which the Indian Army Special Forces were raised.
Correct.
And with I think with passing time, we have a lot of inputs from other armies in this. So this entire probation again, sir, it's devised to test a person and take him to the limits in terms of both physical capacity and mental capacities, and then it's been designed in a very progressive manner. While the tests are tough, for example, the passing time for BPT in probation is 21 minutes. So you have to be to come in excellent. Probably you have to come in 19 minutes or 20 minutes, so something like that. So they have made it tough, and it's a very gradual process. And they both condition you physically and mentally. But yes, in that initial period, after probably a week or so, they again, it's something like a new person going to academies. The entire they try to break you. They try to break you physically and mentally. They want to see, till what level of stress, mental stress, physical stress this person can take. And again, there is a probation officer who's detailed for this. So it's again a very well structured and the scientific systems. So the probation officer actually marks your progress on a weekly basis to see whether the graph is going up, going down. In case and also one of the important factor that the probation officer ensures is that the person, in case it can be a Jawan or an officer, doesn't get injured during this entire time. But there are chances of injuries. So that check is kept. Yes, people do get injured despite this also. So, and then it's not only the because on a daily basis your interaction is mostly with the NCOs and JCOs. The officer only probably once in a day you interact. So, and they have with their experience seen so many people, so many officers, so many Jawans, and and they keep telling you stories of these things. In fact, a lot of them tell you, साहब आप 2 साल हो गया, आप इन्फेंट्री में हो, किस लिए यहाँ पे टाइम वेस्ट कर रहे हो, क्या करोगे, यहाँ दुख ही पाओगे. So they tell you all these things when all this happening. So they are all trying to test you, whether you have that thing to hold on or something. And yes, physically it's a little demanding, sir, because here all your tests you have to do with your battle loads. That is, 22 kilos you have to have on your back, then your weapon. So all your tests are with that. And you have runs of longer duration. You have 10 kilometers, 20, 30, 40. And when you and especially since I went to a unit which is specialized in deserts, 10 para, so that added stress of being in the deserts, you get very less water, and and your navigations are very tough in sands.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things I always had that, one is what my CEO told me, don't come back. One is that. So, and then mentally I was, since I did not go probably directly from the academy. I had seen a little life in infantry. So I prepared myself before going there, sir. So I kind of, though I did not fully expect what was coming, but I always knew it's going to be tough and I have to hold on. And it works.
Do you remember any incident of that probation time which you can still forget? Yes, that's it.
Sir, I think the first day itself when I went there, so in fact my probation officer was almost my peer. Like he had already come in and put in 2 years. So in fact he was a few months junior who was heading that thing. So they got me from the railway station. So there is a tradition of making you run right from the railway station. So in Jodhpur, so in the middle of the city, I was made to change into dongari in the railway station. So from there, I was running all along behind the gypsy. So everybody looking at you and you're running. And when I reached the unit, they said, "Okay, now we will have a timed BPD test and everything." So by the time everything finished, it was dark, sir. It was dark, and then they took me to the training area. Unit that way has a big training area there, and where all these probationers camp and everything. We don't get any accommodation while we are in probation. So my probation officer told me, sir, and very nice of him, he called me sir. He said, sir, tomorrow morning you have PT at 3:45, and then he said, so and after PT, and I'll take you to the device. So you please write in two papers. One is your biodata. Second is why do you want to join 10 Para SF? So these two papers I wanted from you. And then he said, there is a tent, and that tent is in this general area, out west of where we are standing. So please go make yourself comfortable. And then he left. So now I am there, nobody else is there, and there's a full kicker jungle, and I can't make out where the tent is. And I had my suitcase, and that time used to have that hold also, the academy, and I think for good about half an hour plus, I did not find to find it. Then what I did was, luckily the training cell building was on a little small hillock kind of a thing. So then I climbed on top of that, and then I could find a little light in one of the locations. And then I came down and walked there. So there was a lantern kept outside the tent. Then I found my tent, and now I could not sleep because I had to write that also. Then I remember in that lantern I wrote those two papers, and I kept them. And then you hardly had time to sleep. Then I slept for whatever time I could, and morning went out for PT. So I think that first day itself was, I realized this is not going to be easy. So
so your ideas are getting clear from the very moment.
yes, sir.
Okay. So once you have joined this probation done, everything done, ये मतलब मेरे सुन के आंसू आ रहे थे. So tell something about what first operation you must have had, or how you got marooned basically. Finally.
Sir, again, towards the end of my probation, the unit again, we went to we went to North Kashmir from Jodhpur. So my probation was still not over. So because after that initial period where you do your physicals and everything, then you start getting attached to various teams to understand what is the life there. So that time I got attached to Alpha team, and we got deployed in Kupwara, and that was near this Rajwad forest. So that again, initial period you learn, because as a probationer you are always there with the troops, and they have people there. There are people who have seen multiple tenures there, and they have seen so much of action. You keep hearing from them, and they every day they tell you कि ये ऐसे करना है, ऐसे नहीं करना है. Including like आपका वेपन का स्लिंग है, तो ये स्लिंग ऐसे बांधना है, एंड स्लिंग का जो कड़ी होता है उसमें मेटल होता है, तो मेटल में आवाज आता है. तो उसमें धागा, उसमें कपड़ा बांध के रखना है ताकि आप चलोगे तो उसमें आवाज नहीं आएगा. सो वेरी वेरी स्मॉल पॉइंट्स, एंड दे टीच यू योर मैगजीन एंड योर फोरसाइट टिप दैट विल शाइन एट नाइट, तो उसमें काला करके रखो. So these very very small things you learn from your NCOs and JCOs.
But very important things.
Very important things. Very important. Including securing your gear, securing your how to pack up to, कि कौन सा सामान ऊपर रखना है, कौन सा नीचे रखना है, कौन सा पहले निकालना पड़ेगा. All those things. How to keep a radio set's battery. Because when you're out, with the weather, it's cold there, and we went into J&K in winters. We went into October, so winters में वो बैटरी जल्दी ड्रेन हो जाता है. They said कि इसको कैसे रखना है कि बैटरी बचा हुआ रखे. So all those things you learn when you're sitting in the lines with these people preparing. And in fact, my first operation there, again, it was I was in fact nowhere in that, what do you call it, where the actual action is happening. I was probably since I was a new guy, I was kept behind where things are not there. But I realized, but I could sense what is happening, because in that first operation where we saw, there was in 2001. So we had elements of two teams operating there. So one of the teams, they engaged a few militants. My team was also involved. But anyway, I was not kept anywhere near that area where the action is happening. I was a little down below. And so then one of our person had got injured.
Okay.
I think Lance Nikes, he got a splinter injury on his legs. So he was pulled back to where people like the second year where I was there and this thing. So I realized how how calmly these they handle such situations. Looking at the injury, and how in fact in that injury also, because you cannot, it's dark now, you cannot light a torch also to see, because if you light a torch, somebody will know that some people are there. You get, so how they keep that ऊपर से ग्राउंड शीट डाल के अंदर टॉर्च जला के so that light doesn't go out. So all those little finer points of drills I learned, and then people are experienced, they know कि okay, this is not a life threatening injury, तो इसमें blood रोकना है. And then in that field condition कैसे IV लगाया उन्होंने. The first thing is you put IV line, and then you rescue it, get him to the roadhead, get a vehicle, take him out. Though once you're on the road, you have help, because people are mobilized, the ambulances, and that time the mine-proof vehicles, the Caspier and all those come in there. But again, I think this in that tenure, though I later on I took part in multiple operations in terms of, but then this was where I had that close connect with what happens when you have a casualty, how to handle that. So this is all a learning.
The operational, finally, when you had multiple operations where you really saw the action and be part of that.
Yes, sir. In fact, I really, saw the action probably a year later, sir. I actually saw much of the operations in 2003.
Okay.
When we went for our subsequent tenure there.
Okay.
So by then I was a little experienced with things. I was a captain by then.
Okay.
So I had, in fact, the first success of the battalion was one of my operations only. We were still in that phase of Harin taking over. That was in South Kashmir, somewhere close to Shopia. So we had this input about few terrorists hiding in a village in a particular mohalla. We didn't know the exact house. So we rushed there. We went there, and the area was caught, and the informant was there with us, and so he was also not sure which house and everything. So we were kind of clearing houses, but then it was getting dark. So once it gets dark, then it becomes very difficult to check people coming and going out. So one of the houses, then we thought is there, with that, because you see read the facial expressions of the people in the house also. When you interact with them, you come to know. So there are other people also, NCOs who are experienced, and this guy also said, hey, but then we kind of we're not receiving any fire. So now it's very difficult situation to take a call. But then with, sometimes you have to go with your hunch, sir. So in this situation, I went with a hunch. I took one more buddy with me, and in that second floor of the house, a little outside, I told him, you fire here, I'll fire here, and we fired a few rounds in quick succession, and I think this thing worked, because we got a return fire. They got a return fire. Now, so once we get a return fire, it's confirmed. So, and subsequently, then this thing continued throughout the night. We now isolated that house. We occupied the places all around it, and we had this firefight going throughout the night. And by morning, we finished the operation. So we got two terrorists that night. So that was again. I think this is the first operation where I saw live action, and we got a success in terms of killing people, the terrorists. and subsequently we had multiples, I think.
Naturally, being part of SM. I think I heard somewhere that one operation where you evacuated your buddy, like Suresh. Then what
Yes,
happened?
yes, 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 sir. That was again during this tenure itself, sir. We had moved, that time moved to North Kashmir. We were in Bandipur, sir. So Bandipur at that point in time was a very very active area. It was known as a hot area, sir. So in this particular operation, probably I'll not describe what happened before. The scenario basically was. One of our squads, they had a contact. They killed two militants, and this particular individual, he was a holder that time. So out of that group, a few people ran away. So he actually chased two militants. So when he went chasing, so that guy, when he probably ran a few yards and he hid behind a tree, and then he turned and fired. So Suresh had 5 bullets in his body that time, and he's a very strong guy. He's a physically very strong. He's a karate black belt. So he had bullets in his hand and in his stomach. So the main issue was he was bleeding from behind his back. When he was lying down, he was okay because we patched him up with whatever we had and put an IV line. But the moment we lifted this guy, the blood was kind of oozing from his and by then my team commander also had reached. So he's a very experienced person. So he took a call. He said, after seeing this, he said, इसको जल्दी निकालना पड़ेगा, ना? He looks a little serious. So we just had one vehicle in which the team commander had come in, and those vehicles are modified for this thing. So I said I'll take him, and then me, and then we put a co-driver, one of the JCOs, and I went inside the vehicle, pulled him in, and one more guy who was our the medic, sir, the BFNA qualified guy. So he basically had a wound in his stomach, so we had to keep that pressure on. And then there was nothing to keep the IV, so I was actually holding the IV in my hand, and with one hand I was, I had my kept pressure on the wound, and the third guy, he was hanging outside the vehicle, and this was a track which was going along a spur, sir. So that was the only access to the entire area. And usually vehicles don't move in that area. In fact, 4G vehicles don't move. But then we didn't have a choice, and so we did. And then meanwhile, you have to constantly speak to this person also, because he's also he realized he's going to die. So he starts speaking. साहब मेरी बीवी को बताना, बच्चों को बताना कि मैं उनसे बहुत प्यार करता हूँ, ये वो. तो constantly you're trying to tell him कि you use your the 4G expletives, the BC and MC, tell him I'm doing nothing of it, you will do it yourself. And we traveled about a kilometer. So in one of the turns, we got ambushed. We got ambushed. Subsequently, next day we realized there were 5 people, because in another operation they were killed, all of them. So we got, in fact, I actually thought, probably I would have also got hit and somebody else also. But I think it was just that, God's grace. Nobody, in fact, we had the driver got, 1 bullet on his neck. Yes, again, just a superficial. But the main thing was the entire windshield of the vehicle got damaged. So the windshield splinter actually went into the driver's eye. Okay. And the guy who was hanging outside, I think he also got a graze, but it was just a graze. So the moment that happened, so the guy outside who was hanging, so he said, "Sab mere lag gayi hai karke," and then he came. I thought, यार ये तो एक ये पड़ा है, ये कह रहा है इसको लगी है. तो मैंने बोला कहाँ लगी है तेरे? In that commotion, when this fire is going on, I'm actually asking, मैंने कहा कहाँ लगी? उसने बोला सिर पे. मैंने कहा यार तो गया है. इसलिए कि सिर पे लगी. ऐसे जहाँ लगी है उसको दबा के आगे जाके देखते हैं. Then I got hold of the driver. I got hold of the shoulder, I asked him, "You're okay?" And this guy had a splinter in his eyes, one of the glass pieces. But I think very brave of him. He said, "मैं ठीक हूँ." तो then I said कि कुछ मत देख, गाड़ी भगा दे, है ना, देखी जाएगी आगे. तो वो गाड़ी भगाया सर, and luckily we didn't have that. Probably that entire thing lasted. When you are inside, you feel it's so much of it's like a age. It's like a age inside. But then I think the entire thing would have been about 10 odd seconds. It got over. We cleared that entire ambush zone. Then we reached the roadhead, and once we cleared that, then it was still dark. So what I did was I basically the guy who said he has been hit. So I said, "You get your head near me." Then I said I checked his entire head with my hands. I was basically looking for any wet spots. If there is blood going out, I'll feel that blood in my hand. Yeah. And nothing was there. So I told him, I assured him, "You're perfectly all right. Nothing has happened to you." And then later on, when we came to the area where we had the brigade quarter was there. That's where the brigade ambulance and mobilized. The doctor had come in. So that is where the driver also got checked, and he also got checked, and both were okay. Superficial injuries. And then we shifted this guy to another ambulance, the brigade, the proper ambulance that we had, and then we moved to Srinagar, sir, for the base hospital in the night. And in fact, and then we reached somewhere in the middle of the night in Srinagar, and there the surgeon he went inside the ER, the emergency room, and then the surgeon came out, and then he said he looks okay, but he said there is a problem because iska jo one of the bullet is actually near the liver. And then they did that scan and everything, and then they said here this guy is very lucky, yeah, because one is he after so much of blood loss also he's alive because one is because he was physically fit. Second thing, he said he's so lucky because that bullet didn't puncture his liver; it was just lying alongside the liver. So he said, and then they said we'll start operating on him. And when they started operating, they said we require blood. So there is a little time that is required to mobilize. And luckily, what happened? His blood group and mine was same. So I told you. So I told the doctor, "Sir, meanwhile that comes, you try mine, karke." And then in fact, he took my blood. Our blood groups was saved, and then the surgery started with that. So I think that the entire thing, again, sir, like you say, all this experience, they evolve you as a person. So I think this is that thing what you were mentioning, sir.
And in fact, this also proves a point that life and death is in somebody else's hand.
Absolutely.
It's a God's hand. You just can't say कि यहाँ ये होना ही और यहाँ ये नहीं होना है.
Absolutely. In fact, a lot of people senior to you, I know we've been hearing. In fact, one of the GSCOs or I think NCOs, they used to say कि साहब जिसको जिस दिन लगना होगा ना तो वो गोली पेड़ के 4 चक्कर मार के आपको आके लगेगी. और जिस दिन लगना नहीं होगा वो लोग आप कुछ कर लो, कुछ नहीं होगा. So I think this actually proves a point, because I think it's all, if somebody's time has come, sir. I think it's all about that. I think there is a larger plan. Probably we don't know about.
Universe plans everything for everyone.
Yes.
In fact, connecting with this only, I think you have another experience of one of your buddy, Captain Sajjan, or what?
Yes, Sajjan Singh Malik, sir.
That also proved the points. I think we like to share that story also.
That's again, sir. Like you said, Sajjan was in my teams. He was junior to me, and again, we had, in fact, again the entire aspect of how things are unpredictable. We cannot plan for such things. We in fact we had come to Srinagar for our, I think, Part B or Part D exams. I think Part D. Mine was Part D. His was Part B. Okay. So and he left a day before me, and the day and in fact he left in the morning, and evening he got into these operations, and then middle of the night we came to know that he's been hit, and and like next day morning is my exam, sir, for which I waited, and so unpredictable. Just probably a night before, and those days we used to stay in that bunk bed, sir, because in
I know.
so I was down below. He was, staying on the bunk above, and we were discussing about various things. And he was that time. He had just met a girl. He said, I'm seeing a girl, sir. I want to get married and all those things. And then this happens, I think, just 24 hours after. And morning, I think this happened. His injury happened in night. So that was one of the aspects which nobody could help, because the helicopters could not fly at night. We didn't have the night flying capability at that point of time. So the medevac, casevac could only happen in the morning. First light, the helicopters flew in, and in fact, I received him at the helipad in base hospital. And by then, I think he was probably, because we had the doctors and one senior nursing staff also at the helipad. And as soon as they were received, the doctor said, "Yeah, it looks difficult, but anyway, let's go and give it a try." And they said he had lost too much of blood. I think one of the aspect, and the main issue was he had an injury to his femoral arteries, which goes through the leg. And so the problem was the blood was not, had it been an external, the blood flowing out, people would have known and stopped it. But in his injury, what happened was the blood was accumulated inside his part of his legs, and then in part of his stomach and everything. So he had a lot of internal bleeding, which people could not see it from outside, and unless you're a doctor, you're not able to probably understand this. So I am very, very sad, and a very, very unfortunate aspect. And we in fact, as a team, we took a little time in getting out, because he was somebody who would, who was there always, with you for those 1.5 years.
So, 24 hours before he was talking to
exactly. So that's the exact point of uncertainty of people, what people say. You have to be in the present. You cannot plan for what is there ahead.
Krishnadas, I believe that you have been part of that some competition team to we call it a Airborne Africa competition. And in that, not only that, you have gone as a participant to that, your team finally won that competition, which is the world level competition, where such a high profile armies of UK, US were part of that. So, एक तो हमारे viewers को बताइए क्या competition क्या था, and how did you plan as a part of the team so that you become the winner? Let's hear this story of triumph.
So this competition is basically organized by a group of countries from Africa. It's called the Southern African Nations Defense Forces. They have a kind of a conglomeration. So the entire event is basically it's a competition, of course, but then the entire aim of this competition is to promote brotherhood and solidarity between various armies across the world, and also have a common platform. So the competition is designed in a typical kind of what, when you have an insertion, when you insert into a foreign land, what you do in operations. So the competition begins with a paradrops. So you 3 days event. It's you have to be self-contained throughout this 72 hours. So you jump with and whatever you need to carry for these 3 days, you have to carry and jump. So you jump with a full combat load, and then there are various segments in the competitions. Like as soon as you jump, you have to regroup as you do would do in operation. And since it's a competition, it's monitored by the umpires. How you do regroup, you deposit your equipment, the para gear and everything you deposit. And the first event is a 35 kilometers run. So speed march with all your loads. It's a timed activity. So, and at the end of it, they will, there are umpires who check in between about your loads and all those things. There are certain parameters. And at the end of it, you are made to, you given a tactical area to this, to rest. So you make your camp there. In fact, when I say camp, it's nothing. You just have, you occupy this space in the sand. This entire event happened in a desert. So it's in the Kalahari Desert. Okay. It's a game reserve in Botswana.
Okay.
So you camp there, and then the next day morning we had two separate events. The first was it's a navigation through the desert. The navigation was for 15-20 kilometers, and then after the navigation, you have another exercise which is called the casualty evacuations. Okay. So what you have given is you are given a piece of parachute cloth, and you have two bullies, and you're given a cement block of 60 kilos. So now you have to devise a stretcher out of it, and then carry this for 10 kilometers. So with whatever load you have, there's additional thing that comes on. So you carry that, and then same thing. You given a place to rest. It's a tactical harbor that you have. And on the last day, we had the 10 kilometers run. 10 kilometers run, which ends on a firing range. So starting from 500 meters, you do the firing. So you have various, till 50 meters, there are various timed firing activities. So after the rifle shooting, you go into the pistol shooting arena. It's basically it's a kill house kind of a thing. It's like what you have in the close quarter battle. So you have multiple targets wherein you have the hostage, you have the terrorist holding the hostage. It's all on that scenario you do that doom intervention. And there again, both your accuracy and again how fast to do it. It's a timed activities. So it's a combination of all these activities. At the end of it, the winners are decided. So I think in that. So while all these individuals are individual events where you are assessed. So we had done well in most of the events because we came to know at the end of the event. Okay. And then, but then in the end. It was I think a great news for all of us that we came first. So that was something it's kind of a dream come true for all of us.
Definitely, definitely. So in retrospect, what do you think may be the main factors which made us winner? If you can think of that.
So I think one is we did one is we did a little coordination before going. We did have a little time to practice and refine ourselves, because that is one. And the second thing, I think overall, sir, I think our mental toughness was certainly, I think, better than most people did, because typical Indian soldier can live with very little things. So which was probably I think not there what we could observe. Probably they have a different doctrine or way of operating, but we are actually comfortable in very little things, very basic things. We are able to adjust. So and I think and then physically also, while we may not look that big, like in fact we did have a week's training there, sir, before the competition started, because we had to get familiarized with the weapon, and we had to get familiarized with the parachutes there, sir. Because we are not used to their parachutes. We jumped from their aircraft. The aircraft was new, sir, because when you are jumping, each aircraft has a different drill when you are jumping out of it. You have to follow certain protocols, and then each parachute is different. So you have to get qualified on a parachute before you actually take a operational jumps. So that 1 week was given for that. So in those 7 days, we used to meet these people. Morning PT and evening, and then all 3 meals we were meeting, and actually see those most of the guys are huge. because it's all Europeans and Americans and some and most of them from Africa. So you can imagine, they're such well-built guys.
Right.
But then I think it's all about what you call in vehicles, what you call the power to weight ratio. I think our power to weight ratio was better than
them. Yeah, good. Nice way to put across. Or you can even say the mental toughness to weight ratio.
Yes.
In fact, I listened somewhere also that one strategy which worked for you was that having the teammates of the same size, same height.
Yes. I think I probably forgot to mention, because we did have like our team leader, overall contingent leader that time was Major Saab, Major Ranade. He's retired as a brigadier. So he planned this thing well, because since we had to go with two teams, so he's a tall guy. So he made sure that finally him and me participated. So we had that equation that we'll have people almost of the, not exactly, but almost around the comparable height, and actually this helped us in the CASEVAC a lot, because when you're doing the casualty evacuation, the relative height was almost same. So it was very easy for us to carry this stretching, because when you have one guy tall and one guy short, there is a weight disbalance that happens, and that actually helped us. I think that was a scientific approach to it.
Nature is definitely means if you are having equal height, the weight comes
Yes.
equally to everyone.
Yes.
In fact, Krishna's another this was one experience of your foreign tour. Then another, you have been part of UN mission, or rather as
Yes,
a part of observer, UN observer. उसके बारे में थोड़ा बताओ कि how it is different than the UN mission as a UN observer, and what was your role in it?
Sir, I got deployed in Congo, sir. So again, as a military observer, unlike when you go as a contingent, your role is different. When you go as an observer, the first aspect is you are totally unarmed, sir. You're not supposed to carry any weapon, and the entire concept of our observer deployment is based on a terminology called, they call it the rainbow concept. So the idea is that no two people will be from the same country in a team.
Okay.
So usually the team size varies from 5 to 7. So now everybody is from a different country, and many of them don't speak English. Like many of the African nations, they're French speaking, so they are francophones. So again, that's a very interesting group when you are working together. So and then the entire idea of being an observer is that you are neutral. So you have to report on both the contingents as well as the insurgents. So you basically are there as a connect between these two. You go into villages, you meet the local population, the local administration, and for the UN, you are like their eyes and ears. So this input is what, and the same input goes till the force commanders. So he makes sense of those various inputs that are coming to him. From the role perspective, that is there. So otherwise, again, it was a great experience learning from so many different people there. From very simple things like how they look at their life in uniform, how is their life back home. So and I think another interesting aspect is that you have an interpreter going with you for to the villages, because there in Africa the local language is different. Yeah, somewhere it is Swahili, some people understand French, so you have an interpreter who interprets on your behalf. And yes, the other thing is you always have to be prepared to get evacuated, sir. Like we had a evacuation pack which was supposed to always carry. Because in which again, like you mentioned for General Nanavati, sir, same thing. We had a bottle of water, rations for a day, our passport most important, and a satellite phone, which is one in the group that you have. The idea is because since you're unarmed, anytime if you feel there is a threat to your life, you are supposed to raise a request for a evacuation, and based on whatever is the mode of evacuation, whether it is air or you go to a nearest place where the vehicle comes in and all those things. So that is one thing which is different, because you always have to be wary that you have to be able to get information from the ground, so that you make your decision what whether the danger is high enough for you to call for evacuation, or it is something that you can manage or not. And so again, you have to have that connect with the local population, at least the administration, who can give you those. In fact, we had one instance when where we had gone to a mine. That entire area was a mining zone. So there is a village in the middle of that. We had gone there. In fact, very interesting that time my team leader was from Pakistan. He was a lieutenant colonel from Pakistan. So I was driving. He was co-driver. And as we entered, we usually carry two vehicles. We are 7 people. So these are the mines where people carry out illegal mining also. And there's and when we reached that village, what happened was, these people who were doing this illegal mining, they thought UN has come to report on them. And the moment we reached the village, we saw almost 500-600 people, all around our way. And these guys, and some of them are very huge. And now we realize, this is going to be a very tricky situation to handle. And people are talking among, though they were not aggressive at that point in time, but then people were talking amongst themselves, and some people trying to come close to our vehicles and all. So the interpreter was there. I told my team leader was, since we understand Hindi, तो in fact I told him in हिंदी, मैंने कहा सर बैठे रहोगे ना तो आज यहाँ से वापस ही जा पाओगे, तो हमको उतरना पड़ेगा. मैंने कहा उतर के हिम्मत से चलेंगे तो ये रुक जाएंगे, कुछ नहीं करेंगे. I told the interpreter also. The interpreter knew the village chief. So I told the interpreter, let's go to the village chief's house straight away. So I told him, sir, utro. And hum dono utre, sir. And we told the other people, keep the vehicle on. Kuch hoga to we'll have to rush out something. And we came out, we waved to the people, and we headed straight to the village chief's house. And we spoke to the village chief. We told him why we have come here. And luckily that helped, because he came out and he told people, and then he kind of, उसने crowd को रफा दफा किया sir. And उसके घर में बैठे अपने फिर. Then after half an hour we came out of the place. So that was one of the instances. Again, it's like, sometimes there is a sixth sense which tells you ki, if you are stuck in inaction, people will, come, and probably that day they would run over us.
Basically, the action and the courage which makes the difference.
Sometimes, yes, sir. You have to know when to, probably do that charge, as when to wait. You have to know that difference.
Yes. No, definitely. And what you said, there's a gut feeling, basically.
Yes, sir.
And whatever gut feeling says is always correct, more or less.
More or less, yes, sir.
Yeah. तो उसके बाद फिर कहाँ पोस्टिंग हुई यूएन ऑब्जर्वर के बाद?
Sir, I came back from back to staff in Amritsar, sir.
Okay.
And then I had a tenure as an instructor in Nahan, where we have the Special Forces Training School. Okay. So again, very fruitful tenure. You firstly, in terms of learning or specializing in your own SF skills, and then interacting with multiple people from whether it's officers or NCOs from multiple countries. And as SFTS is a premier institution which does this joint trainings. So there I think almost 10-12 countries I could interact with people. And then somewhere before I came to SFTS, I also did a joint training with in US with the US Special Forces. I had gone for almost 2-3 weeks. I was there along with the Green Berets training there. So again, those added to your what do you call it, in terms of your learnings or experience, in terms of skill and the cultural aspects also.
So after having done this Krishnadas training with multiple countries, forces, including the US. Also being instructor at Nahan Special Forces School of Indian Army and interactive with the multiple armies. What do you do the parallel between the Indian Army and the rest of the world's army? Can you just draw a few things for the benefit of our viewers?
Sir, I think Indian Army. I would say the base of the Indian Army is very strong, sir. And I think as an army, it's very difficult to find an army with such vast experience. I think, in fact, not difficult. I would say it's impossible. And with our kind of terrain that we operate in, because today, we have a say a Tambi Paltan, a Madras regiment, operating in Glacier or in Northeast. And similar way, people from Northeast operating in the deserts and everything. So one is this. I think this we have a tremendous mixture that we have. Our base in terms of the basic training, the terrain in various terrains, I think that puts us at a very high pedestal. That's one. Second thing is, I think the way we are groomed, right from whether it's recruit training or for training in the officers, our basic training is very tough. That's what I realized, and also our conditions make it a little tougher because the bulk of our army comes from villages, and the life that they have seen in village, and when they come in to the training center, the combination of both this makes them a very tough nut when they are finally passing up. So we I think I mentioned earlier also, we are very happy with very little comfort, like not having water for a day, having very little food. All these things doesn't deter us very much. We and then the other part is, we are a very emotionally bonded army, whether it can be any arm or service. So there is a bond that is there, whether it's between the troops or the troops and the officers. So and then the aspect of regimentation, especially in the infantry. So, and people, most of the time they're fighting for this affinity, for this, izzat, the unit ki izzat, what we call it. So this is something which I think differentiate us from many of the armies. I'm not saying it is not there in them. They have a different, the society is groomed differently. So they come in, with a different experience. Yes, in fact, some of them are very good also. It's not that we can do a direct one-to-one comparison. There are people, something like the UK or the US, they fought all over the world. So they also carry that experience. But I think to put it squarely, sir, the basic requirement for them to operate is a little higher. Like like wherever they go, they will get bottled water, they will get packed food. They will make their environment comfortable for their troops. Whereas in our case, the logistics always follows. In most cases we say कि okay, go जाके काम करना है, बाकी आपका जो एडम आता रहेगा पीछे. So I think what they probably we can, they may have some merits in their way of operating also, but I think this is something which differentiates us, and I think this makes us successful wherever we go outside, because we don't ask for too many things. We look at the very basic, and then once it is there, we build on our logistics or comfort and everything. But I think that is something which I think I have observed.
Krishnas, like you have been part of Para SF. You went out, came back, and then went out again, came back. So how you happen to command the ASSAM Rifle Regiment?
Yes.
Then the Para SF.
Sir, actually, in my unit, SF, again being a volunteer force, so we had in fact 4 of us of the same seniority in the unit.
Okay.
And a few of them went out. And in my case, what has happened was, my immediate senior subaltern. In fact, between me and him, it's just 3 months difference.
Okay.
So he had already taken over the unit.
कौन थे?
So, sir, Colonel Salaria, sir.
Okay.
So he had just taken over, I think just 3 months or 4 months prior to my
Okay.
board.
Okay.
So so there was no way for for me to probably wait that long and get the unit.
Natural.
So yes, sir. So I think this 26 AR happened naturally to me, as you know.
So as I understand, 26 AR is again a very famous battalion because
Yes,
I have
definitely.
seen it's most of the time commanded by either the officer who has been part of MSG or part of Para Special Forces, and you become the one command 26. तो वहाँ की कुछ एक्सपीरियंस शेयर कीजिए बिकॉज इट्स अ डिफरेंट बॉल गेम commanding a Assam Rifle and commanding an Indian Army battalion because the little culture is
Yes, yes, sir.
that even the human resource, the people are different. So how do you recall that tenure?
Like you said, 26 AR is a very battle-hardened unit. In fact, the unit has had fought in Sri Lanka also, and the unit had fought in JNK also, the initial insurgency days. And also the nature of duties there, that happened there, because it's mostly other than half of the time people are engaged in the road opening duties, which is again a very very mundane and a tedious jobs. And age profile, like what you said, it's the rules of the MHA, so people can serve till 60 years. So the average age of the battalion goes up. Assam Rifle initially was raised by with elements of troops from Gurkhas. So there again, most people understand Gurkhalis. In fact, Gurkhali is spoken quite variedly. Gurkha speaking thing skills helped me there, and so I think I would say I adapted. Factors that helped me also was the unit was in a CI areas. So we were in Chura Chandpur, which is again a very active area, and I had I think I tried to adapt to their conditions and then probably bring in some changes of my own in terms of how in terms of the operational aspects, how the unit how to prepare for an operation, how to train for it, and then you have to trust people, especially the officers, and you make them understand what you want to achieve, and give them that freedom and give them that direction, because end-to-end coaching doesn't help. So you have to give them a concept, make them understand, give them the freedom to go and do it, and usually in 90% of the cases they do better than what you expect. And because people do once they are genuinely motivated from inside, that's my belief that people will do much better than you coaching them from from end to end. And then yes, the battalion there also we did well, sir. We had some successes in terms of stopping a lot of getting a lot of cache of arms and ammunition and all these things. And the other important aspect of Assam Rifles is the interaction, because there it's not pure CI, it's also uh, a tool or a mechanism to reach out to the people also. Because Assam Rifle executes a lot of development projects by the BADP, like the Border Development Program. They execute projects through us, whether it's providing water to a place, giving basic amenities to a school. So we identify those places. So that helps us connect with the communities.
In fact, what you mentioned is that you have been part of this battalion, and which was located in a place called Chura Chandpur, which is a very active place, very active. Bisanpur, Chura Chandpur, because I am part of that area. So, कोई ऐसा operational aspect would you like to share? जो really you got involved in that?
Sir, I think we did. We had built a operational network there. So we cultivated and waited, and then there was one large cache of arms and ammunition which was supposed to be smuggled across the border.
Okay.
So we were tracking that, And now again we had to because wait for the correct time of so then through our source we came to know it is going to happen at a x point of time at a x location. So we had the officers and people prepared for that. And but then as it happened, what happened was, I think for some reason there was a thing that they either got a suspicion, or they wanted to be more cautious something. So they stopped uh, a distance away from what our location was. And now you make a overt movement, they get alerted and this thing. So we had to do something out of the box. So then and again, like I said, I had some excellent officers with me. So again, it's a matter of giving them that freedom. So then they said, so what we did, we took a civil truck service, which is common in those areas. So these people took a civil truck. So one driver again in civil dress, he drove the truck. Another officer in civil dress, he set a co-driver, and remaining people they lied down in the body of the vehicles where usually have sand or something. ऊपर से हमने उसको कवर कर दिया सर, पीछे डाल के. एंड उस ट्रक में आगे ले गए सर. वो ट्रक आगे पार्क किया, वो मैं खड़ा रखा, उसको ट्रक का बोनेट खोल के नीचे दो बंदे घुस गए, बोला कि इसका एक्सेल टूट गया ऐसे करके. सो एंड दे रिमेन्ड देयर फॉर हाफ अ डे.
Oh,
And while all these people were lying inside the truck. वो धूप, बीच में धूप भी आ रही थी, कभी बारिश आ गई तो ये अंदर पड़े हुए हैं. And but then that worked because these people after this 4 or 5 hours they moved in, and then these guys grabbed onto the fuel, and then we had a great success. In fact, we got a lot of arms, ammunition, and this thing from across. And in fact, the battalion was felicitated by the GOC also that time. GOC came in, and the officers and people who were there in the thick of the action, they got felicitated. So again that point of people can do things. It's only that you need to trust and give them that freedoms.
really, and it's really out of box operation.
Yes.
I can say, absolutely think the first time I'm listening this kind of, this is what inspired the people, that what all can be done if you think openly.
Yes.
So after having done your this Assam Rifle Command, you came back to this Airborne Training Center.
Yes. After my command, I got posted to the Army Airborne Training School, sir. Airborne Operations, sir, which goes beyond basic parachuting. It's about dropping heavy loads, getting supplies into the battle zone, learning experience. Because me being part of Special Forces, I was not aware of the intricacies of airborne operations. Airborne operation requires a lot of logistics. Both in terms of the aerial vehicles, that is the aircrafts, and also expedients. Like you require different platforms for dropping different types of vehicles. Like for BMP, you require a different platform. For dropping a vehicle, you require a different platform. For dropping Russians, you require a different platform. So it's a very premier place where it is taught, and a lot of foreign armies subscribe to our courses. They come in almost every time we have some or the other country personnel training on these aspects.
As a commandant of this, what changes could you bring in something you made like this is what you thought कि यहाँ ये होना चाहिए, because you must have done some your para jump, and always as a student you always have idea यहाँ ऐसे नहीं ऐसे होता तो.
Not in terms of say the basics of parachuting, sir, but in terms of the capacity building and capability building, sir. That is where I focused on, because one aspect what we as a I think as a regiment or something, we wanted to increase the number of the free fallers in the unit, because that's a very niche skills. So we worked with Air Force on that, because we had to bridge a lot of gaps in terms of parachutes, availability of the flying hours, and so we got in some new parachutes. Again, the procurement processes and all are very tedious. So we have to push in through various channels to get the parachutes. So that is something, and then improvement in the training infrastructures. Getting simulators for various aspects of training, and also when I was there, we played an important role in inducting or operationalizing the C-17 platforms. So which had newly the heavy the Globe Master, which what do you call it? So they do a lot of heavy lifting. So but then we had to carry out operational trials for it, the field trials. Me and my team we did that, and dropping vehicles from there, and that time uh, again we worked. That is one place where you have to work with the Air Force also, and you also have to work with the DRDOs, like ADRDs and DRDO establishment which is there. So so you have to keep all channels open, speaking to them, and so that's how I think, and something what we initiated at that time, and also in terms of the training infrastructures, whether it's the KLP for the students and the accommodation. So I think what I came to know subsequently is, I think as of today we have almost 70-80% of the things what we planned materialized, and today we I think that from the parachute side we are very comfortable. So we have some very good parachutes come in there. The accommodations have been built in for the students. So I think it's a constant process. Probably people after me also, kept their pedal foot on their pedal, and so it's an aspect of if somebody continues the same effort, I think things materialize. So usually, like it says, infantry battalion takes about 3 COs to actually get the battalion running.
Yeah.
So it's the same way. Sir.
नो डाउट नो डाउट। एक चीज यहाँ बताओ, ये जो बिकॉज जो जितना भी एयर एफर्ट है वो तो आपको एयरफोर्स से मिलता है, चाहे वो
Yes.
फ्री फॉल की ट्रेनिंग हो और एनी से पैराजंप ट्रेनिंग हो। सो हाउ दैट कोऑर्डिनेशन टेक्स प्लेस, मींस किस तरीके से एक्टिविटी होती है?
Sir, one is at the ground level coordination. Otherwise, through our channels, like our channel from the headquarters level, there is a proper plan that is prepared in the beginning of the years. Like for every subsequent training year, you project a plan for the air efforts.
Okay.
So you have a chart made, keeping in view at what time you'll require what kind of air efforts, based on your courses and everything.
Okay.
So then, and that plan you get it approved, goes to the air headquarters, they approve it, and then it comes down. So now this is from the purely Air Force sides. So parallelly, what we do is we also do, like Army also has the aviations. Now some of the training can be done from aviation also. Many of the drops, whether it is the Russian drop and all those things, can be done from helicopters also. So we through in a similar manner we projected the Army aviation also, and like free fall for a new jumper, he may require to do it from a fixed wing aircraft. But for a jumper, say, who has done about 20-30 jumps, for him to hone his skills, he can actually do it from the helicopter also. So so there is a constant liaison that is required. So and many times what happens, like many of the units, whether it's aviation or even what happens, like aviation unit, if they got a new pilots. Now, like we have to qualify, the pilot also has to clock that many number of hours for his qualification. And a pilot also has to, if a pilot has to undertake a operational para jump from his platform, he has to train it in peacetime. So we take advantage of those things. Like it's a matter of coordination. We come to know, this guy has to do his operational hours. So we say, okay, you give us these many hours here, and we send our troops to train there. So it's a win-win situation to both of them. And then on ground, like for some reason, if there is a aviation effort that got air effort that got cancelled. So apart from our regular air effort comes from the unit in Agra. But then there are many other units around who have to do their currency also for a pilot, for Air Force pilot. So if you keep your channels open, you come to know, okay, subsequent say Gwalior mein there is a base, and wahan pe, they require these pilots to get upgraded as people who can do a para jump. So then we tie up with them. We say okay. Then they say okay, हमको इतना hours है हमारे पास. So then we tie up with those people and we coordinate with the units. Okay, there is such and such aircraft available. आप इतने बंदे, you send me these many followers. I'll give you these many hours of jumps. So all this happens in the background, sir. In the other than what is there on this thing.
That must be the actually the biggest task of a commanding officer to
yes,
coordinate this thing, isn't it?
Yeah, apart from the other thing is about inductions, like any new induction in terms of aerial platforms or parachutes, it has to be vetted by Airborne Training School. So we do that coordination parts.
आपने जो ये पायलट वाली बात जो बोली कि उनको भी उतने आवर्स किए जाने चाहिए, तो मतलब उनको पैरा जंप कराने के आवर्स होने चाहिए या खुद जंप करने के?
नहीं, पैरा जंप कराने के सर. अगर
जंप कराने,
बिकॉज जैसे हमारा क्वालिफिकेशन है, पायलट ऑल्सो हैज द क्वालिफिकेशन कि मैं पैरा जंप करा सकता हूँ. ओके. और कि मैं स्लिदरिंग करा सकता हूँ. तो अगर वो उस स्लिदरिंग उसको कराना है किसी ट्रेनिंग एक्सरसाइज में या ऑपरेशन में, उसके क्वालिफिकेशन में लिखा होना चाहिए कि इस बंदे ने इतने घंटे कराया करके. तो उसका भी रिक्वायरमेंट है, हमारा भी है. सो वी मैच दैट सर.
सो दैट मींस वो भी एक स्पेशलिटी है कि आपने ये जंप कराई है, उसको भी
yes
उसको लाने के लिए.
Yes, not every pilot can do that, sir. He has to get qualified.
That is why I asked you this question. What exactly happens? This is the learning for me also.
I think we also learn it when we are there. When you come to we realize these things.
Right. अच्छा, इसके बाद में इसी बीच में आप एडीसी रहे ना, जनरल लीडर के जो.
Sir, that was I think in the long time back, sir. I was there in 2005, sir. Okay. 5 to 6.
In fact, he has been the commanding officer of 9 Para also as a CO, as a colonel.
Yes. In Sri Lanka, he commanded, sir.
Yeah, Sri Lanka he commanded. Anything you would like to say about his personality as a general leader?
So I think he's a visionary beyond his times. He's a great soldier and a scholar. I've rarely seen somebody with such clear thinking, and I think one aspect of him is that as a corps commander also I have seen him. He was into reading so much, and he had a varied reading interests, whether it's pure general reading or pure military reading. And that is one thing I'll always think, he and his level of energy at that age, it was very difficult to keep up with him, because as a corps commander he had to attend so many briefings and so many this thing. But then he was always after a few hours probably I would start getting bored or something. But then he was so sharp, and he will pick out certain things what he had to discuss. When we were going to I think we went to fire day and we came back. So this was the time when I think September probably is when the ACRs are written. So one particular ACR had come to me where and ACRs are handled by the colonel MS, and the only other person who could handle it was me, because the trust factor was there. Yeah. So there was one ACR of a officer, a company commander, wherein he had probably got an adverse report. So the adverse report comes to him for information, sir. So that was one point I realized how big people think, sir, how people with vision think. So he didn't say anything to anybody. He said, he told the colonel, he said, tell so and so this officer should come and do a 3 months attachment in Fort Wayne. And he called that officer. He didn't tell anybody anything. And then one of these days when we were talking and going back, then he told me, it's too early in life, as a company commander, that you should get a adverse report. He said, said, so before doing that, I have to be very, very sure that there is actually something wrong. It can be a matter of perception.
Yeah.
And I think, and he turned the entire thing down. He said, nothing doing, otherwise for a corps commander, it doesn't matter at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There are so many majors, company commanders under him. But then he had that point here, मतलब किसी को कागज पे मतलब unless वो बिल्कुल ही totally वो है, he has proved a point, he cannot be, he is not worth what he is doing. And I think that's a lesson for me very early in life here. Don't write off anybody, just like that.
Just because of your perception, individual perception.
Yes.
कृष्णास, देखो हमने क्या क्या बातें कर ली, सारी बातें, कुछ भी नहीं छोड़ा हमने. बट एक व्यूअर्स का क्वेश्चन आया हुआ पहले से ही. उसने पूछा है कि कोई कैप्टन पवन कुमार थे सॉरी चक्र ऑफ 10 पैरा एसएफ. Do you have any idea about him?
Yes, sir. I have seen him briefly. Pawan came to the unit from Dogras. Yeah. He came as I was 2IC.
Okay.
And we lost Pawan in an operation in JNK. Okay. In fact, that's a very famous operation. In fact, that had multiple. We had initially one 9-par officer getting casualty, and then later on, I think Captain Mahajan. And then in that initial operation, Pawan what is this thing? Again, I mean, though since I was out of the unit by then, I was not part of that. But then I've seen Pawan as a probationer. And I think very bright youngster, very, very strong guys. And he also come from infantry like me. He had also done about 2.5 years. Very, very, very bright chaps. And what I hear about him from others is again great. And in fact, he's one of those guys who had got injured in a previous operation. Not a bullet injury, but then he had got an injury on his jaw and all. And he was actually told to go on sick leave. But then he said, I'm okay, I'll continue with my team. And then this happens, this operation happened.
हमारे जो व्यूअर्स हैं उनको बहुत कुछ पता है. मतलब somebody asked, 3 people asked this pointed question about him.
Okay.
So they must have read about him somewhere. Col Krishnadas, it's a really humbling and wonderful experience talking to you about J&K to Northeast to Congo to whatnot, every place. And you have covered everything with so much grace and sincerity. Thank you so much being my guest. And really, I'm sure my viewers and listeners will learn a lot from this conversation.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. It was a great pleasure speaking to you. And I think we overshot the time by quite a lot. So thank you for this opportunity. It was a great pleasure speaking to you, sir. In fact, while speaking, you also tend to, go back to those, years, and you are reminded of people who have, come alongside, helped you that time. So thank you so much, sir. I think it was a pleasure speaking to you.
Good. Thank you.